today we're going to have a discussion about the cardiovascular system, or the circulation of blood in the heart and its blood vessel and all over the body. At other books, this is called the circulatory system, but I think it's just the same. Anyway, let's start. This is just basic anatomy. We'll start with basic anatomy, and it's more of a fast track, easy pick up discussion on how you could easily understand and comprehend the cardiovascular system. So let's start. So this is your heart, and your heart is divided into 4 chambers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have the atriums and the ventricles. We have the atrium and the ventricles. Okay, so just in case you're confused where the atrium and the ventricles are, just remember that the A is like an arrow pointing up. So the atriums are on top, and the V of the ventricle is an arrow pointing down. So it's in the bottom, okay? Atrium is on top because it's an arrow pointing up. Ventricle is in the bottom because it's an arrow pointing down. Now we write right. Okay, so this is the right atrium, left ventricle, left ventricle. Okay, so here's the thing. If you're getting confused with where's your right and your left, it's like this. Because the picture of the heart here is a person facing you. So the right is the left and the left is the right. Okay, so I know this is your right, but the right is here because this is a picture of a person's heart facing you. Okay, that's why it's opposite. So there, those are the 4 chambers of the heart. The 4 chambers of the heart contains the blood that flows inside. So we have here a blood vessel. This blood vessel here is the superior and inferior vena cava. Okay, so we have... Okay, when you say superior, it means it's like from the top of your body. So the blood coming from the top of your body. And then when you say inferior, it's the blood from the below of your body, like from your feet to your trunk, like that. And vena cava, it means it's a vein. Okay? It's a vein. So before we discuss about that, let's discuss about the blood vessels. So the vein, here's a quick note. The vein carries what? Unoxygenated blood. It carries unoxygenated blood. What else do you need to remember? It carries blood back to the heart. Back to the heart. Okay? Again, when you say it's a vein, it carries unoxygenated blood and it carries blood back to the heart. When you say it's an artery, it carries oxygenated blood. And it carries blood away from the heart. Okay, so just in case you're getting confused with this one, I have a technique for this. It's letter B, right? So it's like babalik, it's going back to the heart, and then it's away, right? So it's artery, away from the heart. Okay, so vein, babalik sa heart, artery, away from the heart. Next, capillary, this is where the gas exchange happen between the artery and the vein. Because usually, if like this is a highway, the vein would be going that way and the artery would be going this way. This would be carrying unoxygenated, this would be carrying oxygenated, this would be going back to the heart, and this is going away from the heart. So how are they supposed to be meeting? They're going to be meeting in the capillaries. So that's the purpose of that. And another one, there's an exception to the rule. The pulmonary vein and pulmonary artery doesn't follow this rule. The pulmonary, they are the only exception to this rule, okay? They are the only exception to that rule. Why? The pulmonary vein carries oxygenated. The pulmonary artery carries unoxygenated. Okay, it's the only exception to that rule, to this rule that I mentioned. But the rest of the body, all vein carries unoxygenated and all artery carries oxygenated. That's the only exception to the rule. Okay, so let's go back. So from the superior inferior vena cava, from the word vena cava, you would know that it's a vein and it's carrying what? Oxygenated or unoxygenated? It's carrying unoxygenated blood because it's vein, unoxygenated. So it will fill here. And then we have valves here. Valves are like doors that open and closes, which allows the blood to flow. And remember the number 32 here because we have tri in bi. So here we have tricuspid valve, and then here we have the bicuspid valve. But as of the moment, they call the bicuspid valve mitral valve. It's now called mitral valve. So it's tricuspid valve and mitral valve. But then, so that I won't get confused, I still stick with the 32. 32 means tri and then bi. Tricuspid and bicuspid valve. Okay. So you fill that with blood that is unoxygenated. After that, it will go to the right ventricle. There's another opening here. This is the pulmonic valve or pulmonary valve. And this one is the pulmonary artery. You know this artery, so it's going away from the heart. So repeat, from the superior inferior vena cava, poorly or unoxygenated blood will go inside the right atrium. From the right atrium, it will go inside the right ventricle via tricuspid valve. After that, the pulmonary valve or pulmonic valve will open, which allows the blood to travel in the pulmonary artery. Artery, away. So after that, it will go inside the lungs. Okay, this is the lungs. And this is where the gas exchange takes place. After that, the blood becomes oxygenated and it will go back to the heart via pulmonary vein. Because it's valvulic, so it's vein. And here is the one that I told you, it's the exception to the rule because pulmonary artery carries unoxygenated blood and pulmonary vein carry oxygenated blood. Sorry. Next, the blood or the oxygenated blood will go to the left atrium. And then here, the mitral valve or bicuspid valve will open, which allows the blood to go inside the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, there's another opening here. The valve's name here, there's a valve. Aortic valve, okay, the aortic valve, which leads to the aorta. From the word aorta, it is a artery. So, artery. And then it will go to the rest of the body. From the rest of the body, it will oxygenate the blood inside your body, and then you'll be okay. Is that clear? So let's have a quick recap on how the blood circulates. Your heart is divided into 4 chambers. We have the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. Here we have the tricuspid valve, and here we have the mitral valve or bicuspid valve. Here we have the superior and inferior vena cava. Here we have another blood vessel called the pulmonary artery. And here we have another valve, a semilunar valve called the pulmonic valve or pulmonary valve. Here we have the lungs. And here we have the pulmonary vein. Here we have another semilunar valve called the aortic valve. And this one is the aorta. So let's start the cycle. From the superior inferior vena cava, poorly or unoxygenated blood will go inside the right atrium. From the right atrium, it will enter the right ventricle via tricuspid valve. From the right ventricle, the pulmonary valve or pulmonic valve will open, which allows the blood to enter the lungs via pulmonary artery. Here in the lungs, the blood gets oxygenated. as the blood gets oxygenated, it will go out via pulmonary vein. It will enter the left atrium. In the left atrium, they will fill that up with blood which is oxygenated, and then once it's filled up, it will pump blood and it will go to the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, when it's filled up, the aortic valve will open, aortic valve, which will allow the blood to go out via aorta. Okay, so here, lub-dub. So once this part, the atrium pumps, it pumps both at the same time. So it pumps both at the same time, and this one also pumps both at the same time. Okay, so for example, this is your heart, it will pump, and then it will allow here to go down, and then it will pump, and then it will allow to go there. Do you get the point? So blood goes in, pump, like that. Okay, so that will happen every time it pumps. If you're going to ask which applies more pressure, actually both of them applies both pressure, but then the ventricles apply greater pressure because it is pushing the blood in a farther place, like because it's pushing blood to the lungs and it's pushing blood to the rest of the body, while the atriums, they're just pushing the blood in the bottom part. Okay, so that's the very basic circulation of the blood inside your heart or the cardiovascular system. So I hope you enjoy or learn something this quick and easy cardiovascular system lesson. If you have any more questions, this is just very basic anatomy of it and the circulation. Just tell me, and happy learning!